morning. Welcome to Radio Friends on Friday, March the 12th. So good to have you with us today. And we've got a good segment for Friday. We're going to talk about poems and show you some pictures if you're watching us on the web or on television, and hear some great poems with Walter Bargen. Good to have you here, Walter.
Always great to be here, Paul.
And you have a brand new book out. It's called You Wounded Miracle. And it's a book of how many poems?
There are 60 poems in here. There are 60 color photographs, and it is hardcover.
Yeah.
And very weighty.
You know, when you walked in with this book and I took a look at it, I think it's probably the nicest one you've put out. And the pictures are phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And the poetry, as always, outstanding. So you want to take a look at a couple of...
Well, I'd like to look at the cover first.
Okay. I'm looking at the cover right now.
Yes.
And for people listening on the radio, You Wounded Miracle, what's on the cover?
What's on the cover is a sculpture of the three Graces, whose names are in Greek, and I don't know how to pronounce them.
Okay.
So I'm not even going to try.
Okay.
But this is on a thoroughfare in a small town in Bavaria in the mountains named Bad Reichenhall, and which happens to be near where my relatives live, which brings up a whole issue. Suddenly I'm going, wait a minute, my mother was German. Does that make me a first-generation immigrant? You know, I have no idea.
Yeah.
So, you know, that lends an entirely different perspective to me, you know, in terms of thinking like that. But the three graces are something like beauty, youth, and grace. So it's a lovely cover. It's taken on a spring day, no, an August day in Germany. And then on the back, there is a photograph of a 500 and maybe 8 foot high waterfalls. And it is about 30 miles outside of Portland, Oregon, on the Columbia River Gorge. And there's a bridge across the bottom of the photograph.
I can see that.
Which was built by the Conservation Corps during the Depression, during the Dust Bowl. And they rented this bridge out for weddings. It had become a very popular place for weddings. And one time, a very large boulder, the size of a school bus, broke loose from behind the waterfalls and fell hundreds of feet, hitting the pool below, sending up...
the bridge?
What?
Did it miss the bridge?
Yes, yes. The bridge is like, you know, at least 100 feet or more away from the falls. It hit that pool, sent up a tidal wave, a tsunami, hit the wedding party and injured 13 people.
And when was this?
Maybe about 15 years ago.
Wow. Okay. So
You know,
you can look at the picture on the back of the book, but we could go on with these stories, but I really want you to share a couple of the poems, Walter.
Okay. The first poem that I would like to share is the opening poem. It's called List Beyond the Stars.
And the picture that goes with this shows a comet. The name of the comet is what?
Neowise. It passed over us this past summer, and a friend of mine on the next road, Bill Palmer, took this photograph. And although of the 60 photographs, I probably took 57 of them.
Yeah.
And Bill took the rest.
Okay. The poem is?
A List Beyond the Stars, and it makes reference to Walt Whitman, and in many ways it seems to be rather prescient in terms of what has happened recently, considering that this poem was written, 5 or 6 years ago. And it makes reference in the end to something that Walt Whitman wrote in The Song of Myself. I believe a leaf of grass is no less than the journey work of the stars. A really lovely sentiment. So here is the poem. It's on page 11 if you're... List Beyond the Stars. I haven't seen a snake in months. No scream necessary. The thought itself slithers across your prefrontal cortex, flicking its forked tongue. Highways empty of turtles. No wet rip of scaly flesh stretched across asphalt as car tires zip past. Just the hum of tread measuring miles. The crush of dry leaves clawing away over forest floor. The oaks dropped their leaves 3 months early. The alphabet missing so many species. Not a blunt snout or hind leg to hire. Heard only one whippoorwill this year. Dozens, if not 100,000, flown away. To where? The night silence a roar. When's the last time a woodpecker tapped out its code? I don't know what will survive. I try not to look too closely anymore. It's already possible to count solitary blades of grass. My heart beats with the most distant stars. Walt Whitman, democracy is withering.
And Walter, we got time for one more quick one, if you will do that.
Okay, this is the closing poem. That was the opening poem, and here's the closing poem.
The picture that goes with it was taken where?
It was taken outside the Modern Art Museum in Salzburg, Austria, and I climbed into the sculpture to take this photograph, which I probably wasn't supposed to do.
That's a beautiful picture. That is a beautiful picture.
And this is called A Line from Dogen, who was a 13th century Zen monk. These clocks are useless. They only measure themselves. Early, late, later still. How long can they go on chanting this one tick before you walk out the door? Room upon room you continue on uncertain. What is it you hope to find? Calendars can't keep track of the days. Vast seasons come and go. You follow the geese who follow the stars. Departure and arrival unspeakable. Knowing an illusion. Not knowing ignorance. We measure the timeless. Where do we turn? Where do we turn? Into the turning.
I like that too. And this is a beautiful book, brand new, Walter Bargen, You Wounded Miracle. It's available where, Walter?
There's only one place you can buy it in town, and that is Skylark Bookshop.
Okay.
Or you can contact me at walter.bargen, that's BARGEN, @gmail.com.
Is it available online?
No, there's no distributor in the United States
Okay.
for it.
Yeah, but it's such a beautiful, beautiful book. You can email Walter, walter.bargen@gmail.com. Thank you so much for coming by, and please come back again. All right.
Okay.
Out of time for today, pepperpmissouri.edu.